Hey, hello. So, do y'all remember how I said I wanted to do like monthly book wrap-ups? Here's June. In July though, I don't have an excuse. I'm not able to film because I have kids running around, and I'm not going to subject y'all into like hearing their screeches because it can be a lot. So here are all the books that I have read in the month of June. I read 10 books in the month of June. So we're just gonna dive right in. So technically I started this trilogy at the end of May. I read the first book in May, but didn't finish the other 2 books in June. So we're gonna lump it all in the month of June. There we go. That was nice and loud. I read The City of Brass trilogy, starting in May, ending in June, and there's a nice big Clair. And I saw it all over Book Talk, and I did not see one bad review for it. I didn't even see a mediocre review for it. Everyone said that it was absolutely amazing. It was magical. I did like it. I'm not saying it was terrible. I'm not saying it was the worst thing I ever read. I struggled to read it. I don't know. I think I just got burnt out because May wasn't fun reading wise, so I think I was just burnt out. So it felt like a reverse Aladdin to me. Jasmine was the peasant on the street, and then Aladdin was the crown prince and everything. So it takes place in Cairo, and it follows the young female protagonist, and she's always had like these like little abilities. She's able to read people really well. She can hear a language and speak it. She can do some kind of healing and everything, but very minor. And she learned, being like an orphan, she learned to not talk about it because everyone was just like, oh, she's a witch. And she's like, okay, I'm just not gonna tell people about my ability anymore then. Okay, lesson learned. Kind of kept it hidden. And in the beginning, she's trying to exorcise this demon in a neighbor girl, and she winds up singing a song in a language. She's heard the language, but she can't pin where she heard it. It's kind of like really deep in the recess of her memory. And then the genie shows up. Daevabad. I really hope I pronounced that name right, but it gets shortened to Dara like throughout the entire series. He shows up and he takes her to the City of Brass. Oh shit, what was the name of the city? Hold on. Hold please. It's been like a month since I've read this book. Hold on. Shenanigans. Daevabad. If I'm mispronouncing these names, I am so sorry. That is not my intention. I struggle with pronouncing names of fantasy books. The whole first book is basically Dara and Nari getting to the City of Brass, getting to Daevabad, but it does switch. The points of view in these books do switch between a couple of characters. Switches between Dara, Nari, and Prince Ali. Fabulous Daevabad. Every single time I read that kid's name, that popped in my head. I think that's why it took forever to read. That whole song had to play. No, it did switch points. So the first book was Dara and Nari getting to the City of Brass, and then whatever's happening with Prince Ali in like the dual point of view at the same time. And throughout the first book, it does have to world build, and you get introduced to the whole cast of characters, all the magical beings and stuff, which is great because like that's what you need for a whole effing trilogy to do. But you get to learn more about like Nari's history, Dara's history, Daevabad's history, Prince Ali, what he was going through and everything. And it turns out spoilers, Nari turns out to be a descendant of a bloodline that I thought was lost. Nope, turns out there's a bloodline and it's her. Of course it's her. Of course it's the protagonist who like didn't know she was anything special, so that checks out. So the ending of this book, spoilers again, kind of. Dara is trying to take Nari out of the city because he thinks it's corrupt, because he's actually been like asleep for thousands of years. So like the Daevabad that he left isn't the same as what he came back to, so he thinks it's like really corrupt, and he's like, ugh. He's trying to take her away, and in that process they get recaptured and everything. any of that book. So this book is 5 years after that. Nari marries Ali's older brother, the Emir, and it's just like her 5 years in the future, just navigating through the streets. I won't tell you what happened to Prince Ali. I'm not going to tell you what happened to Dara, because that's major spoilers for both the rest of the books, so I would rather not do that to anybody who wants to read it or is thinking about reading it. There's that, and then a person So a person takes over Daevabad. Here's the result and the resolution. That's really all I can say because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, that's this whole series. It's taking 200 plus pages just to get to the City of Brass. Being there for all of, I think, a couple of months. Shit going awry, and then it's 5 years later, they're navigating through the city, navigating through like all this kind of crap. And then the city gets taken over by someone else, them getting it back. That's the whole series. They try to go to the city, they get to the city, they keep it for a little while, then they lose it, and then they try to win it back. City of Brass. So to me, I actually like this series. It was perfectly fine. I wasn't like enthralled by it like how I have been with other series, but I never felt like I had to power through. I never felt like I was struggling to read it. I never felt like I wanted to, put it down and DNF it and everything like that. It was just pretty middle of the road. I liked the characters. So my only qualm with this series was I think it did drag in quite a few places. I think it could have been summed up a little bit quicker. I didn't think it needed to be dragged out as much as it did. That's what it was. It was a lot of fluff. I just personally feel like it dragged. That's all. It dragged into quite a few places. I'm like, all right, let's go get the city back. Let's get to the city. Let's resolve the issue within the city. Come on. It took forever in some parts. I think that's my only qualm with it. It dragged in quite a few places where I didn't think it needed to. But that's just me. Some people like the fluff, some people don't. It's to each their own. It wasn't mind-blowing to me, but it wasn't bad. It was just perfectly fine. I don't remember a lot of the details. I remember more of the details in this one. Actually, no, I remember a lot of details throughout each of the books, but I think this one has stuck with me, the last one, because I read it more recently and I liked more of what happened in the last book. That's just me. So, starting off June, ending May, City of Brass Trilogy. You ready? Ready for the thunder? So the next series that I read was actually a reread because she came out with a new book. I think at the end of May she came out with a new book, so I reread the whole series. I love this series so much. It's so good. And if Stuart ever makes a book review about this, don't listen to it. Don't listen to Hey It's Stuart. This is a good book series. He is just bitter. That's what his nonsense is about. So I did already talk about this book series in a different video of mine, but just really quick recap. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling. Hades and Persephone and the gods are actually characters in the book. It takes place in a modern day setting. Like there's phones, there's computers, there's like today's technology. Persephone is a new journalist and Hades is the immortal god of the dead. He's been around for millennia. And obviously, spoiler alert, he falls in love with Persephone and she falls in love with him too. The book that actually came out was the second book in Hades' point of view. With this series, with her works, everything that has a touch is going to be Persephone's point of view, but everything with a game of in the title is Hades' point of view. There are events that happen at the same time and they do overlap, but while you're reading about Persephone's point of view, you finally get Hades' point of view and like what he's thinking. There are some events that are happening in this book that don't happen in this book. Like, it's a give and take. It's Hades versus Persephone's point of view. It's actually pretty good. But this book is the one that came out recently, and it's the Hades point of view to this one. It's the second book. It's the second book in the series, but it's Hades' point of view in the series. I will forever love this series. I don't have one qualm with it. I really don't. I mean, like, I am in a constant state of worry because of what happens to Hades at the end of this book, but that's neither here nor there, and I don't get a resolution to it until, like, next September. But she's writing other books. She has a life outside of writing books, like all authors do. So, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Like, there's a lot more to writing a book than we think that there is, so, like, take your time. Make the book awesome. Whatever. Let me just jab myself. I read these 5 books in a week. I put one down, started the next one, put one down, started the next one. Like, it was insane how quickly I just barreled through these books. I love the entire cast of characters. Demeter's a bitch. Characters, I love most of the events that happen. The Never Have I Ever game. That is like the funniest freaking thing I have ever read. And then freaking Hades going to Hermes for an outfit. 10 out of 10. Hermes' reaction to that was absolutely hysterical. You get to see more of Hecate's relationship with Hades throughout, like, his side, because she is, like, his best friend. She is his confidant, so, like, he's always running to her to advice. And so is Persephone, but Hades more so because they've been together forever. Oh, yeah, like a former lover gets... That's what it is. A former lover... Liuki? I called her Luce because I didn't know of her existence. I don't know how to pronounce the names, but Liuki, her, the water nymph, she comes back because someone untransformed her from a tree. 3 guesses who, and if you are honestly thinking like, oh, I don't know who, it's a mystery. Hello. I love this series. I will never not love this series. I cannot wait for A Touch of Chaos to come out in September, and I cannot wait for A Game of Gods to come out. Just make it happen, please. Yay. And yes, there's smut in this. It's fine. And if Stuart ever says anything about it, just shh. Some people like smut in their books, some people don't. Stuart is a don't. Shh. It's okay, Stuart. It's okay. Just don't let Stuart tell you otherwise if he ever reviews a book. Like, it's good. Don't let anybody say that it's not, because it is. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. And Scarlett St. Clair does have a read it like this. What the hell's it called? What's it called? I guess an outline of like how you should read it. So it does go A Touch of Darkness, A Game of Fate, A Touch of Ruin, and A Game of Retribution. But if you want to get more into it, a freaking thing, like it's like every couple of chapters of this, you read a couple of chapters of that. So if you want to do like a dual read, 2 books at one time, more power to you. I personally just can't do that. Or you can just read all of Persephone's points of view and then read all of Hades' point of view. Do whatever you want. Just read it, because it's really good. That's how I'm gonna sell this. Just read it, because it's really good. End of discussion. So because of Hades and Persephone, A Touch of Darkness, I was kind of on like a Greek mythology kick. Very much so a Hades and Persephone kick. If you know, you know. It's already so cute. I cannot wait for the next 2 volumes to come out, to be quite honest. And yes, I'm counting this as a read because, like, even though it's a graphic novel, even though it was a webtoon turned into a book, I think it counts because manga counts, comic books count in my eyes. So I read this and it was so freaking cute. I never read Lord Olympus when it was online. It's just volume 1, so you don't get a lot of their relationship, but that's okay. There's like 2 more volumes coming out that I know of. And yes, I'm going to get them because it's going to be really absolutely awesome. Oh, I'm so excited. It's so freaking cute. Persephone is very naive and everything, but I love this book. It was so cute. Yay. Hello, this is future Caitlin. You know, the Caitlin that's coming in after I edited all of that footage and after all of that editing. Coming in to tell you that I done goofed. Yuck. I goofed. So you know how at the beginning of the video I talked about all the 10 books I read in the month of June? Technically, I talked about the 9 books that I read in the month of June because I started City of Brass at the end of May, but completed the trilogy in June. So technically, I only talked about the 9 books that I read in June. I didn't lie to you. I actually did read 10 books in June. I forgot one. I forgot a book. It's absolutely ridiculous, and considering the author of it, it's quite hilarious. It's quite hilarious considering the author. Here, let me show you. I forgot this book. I forgot the other TJ Klune book that I have read. I really thoroughly enjoyed his other book, The House in Cerulean Sea. But yeah, I forgot that I read this book. I didn't forget what the story is about. I just don't understand why I forgot this book. It was really cute. It was really sweet. So me forgetting this book when I loved the other book that he wrote, it's beyond me. And Stuart, if you're watching this, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I know I might not hear the end of that for a very long time, but shut up, Stuart. Under the Whispering Door. It is not a sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with the Cerulean Sea. It's just the cover art is pretty similar. So, the book is about this lawyer, this well-to-do lawyer named Wallace, and at the end of chapter 1, has a heart attack and just croaks. And he goes to his funeral as a ghost. He goes to his funeral afterwards as a ghost, only to see that only 4 people attended his funeral. His ex-wife and his 3 partners. But when he was there, he noticed that there was some person he's never met, and she can actually see him. She can actually talk to him. And she reveals that she's a reaper and here to reap his soul to get him to the other side. Now, what's kinda like quirky about this book is that the Reaper is not taking him to the other side. She is taking him to what they refer to as a way station, a stopping point for the soul to figure out if they're ready or not to go, like right then and there. And if they're not, they stay at the way station for a little while to decide to feel ready to go to the great beyond. And so the way station that they go to is a tea shop called Charon's Crossing. Charon, I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. The same dude that ferries the people and across the Styx in the underworld. The owner of this tea shop thought it was absolutely hysterical. So do I. And so it's called Charon's Crossing. It's a tea shop. And while Wallace is there, he meets the owner of the tea shop. I am pretty sure it's Hugh. Yep, Hugo meets Hugo, the owner of the tea shop, and his deceased grandfather. He's a spirit. The Reaper also works at the tea shop as well, and there's also a spirit dog because the dog was Hugo's real life service dog to help with his panic attacks. And his spirit stayed behind for Hugo. So, Wallace at the beginning was only concerned with work. That's his whole thing. He didn't care about anybody else. He was pretty selfish. He didn't really live his life. He woke up, went to work, stayed at work, worked through the night, crashed really early in the morning, and then just did the whole cycle all again. But in death, he's actually living. He's actually thinking about other people other than himself. He's actually doing things that aren't just involving work and clients and stuff. In death, he actually starts to live. It's really sweet. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in between because of him. He helps scare off like a fake psychic who is just there for internet fame and stuff. He tries to help a mom move on from the death of her own daughter. And he's actually being very inspiring to those around him, and that's great considering he was kind of a dick at the beginning of the story. But you know, we can't all be winners, right? Overall, I really loved the book. It was so cute. It was so freaking cute. It wasn't as cute as the house in the Cerulean Sea because that has to deal with magical kids and this is just like adults and stuff. But it's still really sweet. It's really cute. It's a very good, like, heartwarming read. I'm glad that Wallace grew as a character. I'm glad Hugo was able to help him. So the book does go through the 5 stages of grief. Like, Wallace actually has to go through those stages of his own death to really, like, move on and get past it and accept it. I love how it was, like, illustrated. It was really sweet. It was really nice. I can't stop loving these books. I am so excited to see if TJ Klune comes out with anything else because we got 2 winners. I don't have anything, like, bad to say about it. I don't have anything negative or whatever. It is so freaking cute. So the last book I read in the month of June is brought to you by Stuart Mackey over there in Ireland, because I made him read The House in Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, and that he didn't like it for some unknown reason. I didn't realize I was giving a very cute story to a cynical tin man. That's on me. I didn't know how cynical he was. I didn't know how bitter he was. Whatever. Now I know. But because I made him read that, he wanted me to read this. The Institute by Stephen King. Little fact about me, I don't like horror. Horror movies, horror books, not a fan. And what I do know is that Stephen King is pretty synonymous with horror. Hello, It, Carrie, Cujo. Any of those ringing a bell? Cause they should. The Shining. Hello. I did need to branch out, but like, ow, I just pinched my finger. The first review on the back of this book might be Stephen King's scariest novel yet by the New York Times Book Review. So when I picked this up, when I saw that, I'm like, freaking awesome. Great. Thanks, Stuart, for giving me the scariest book he might have ever written his entire life for the first one. Thank you. Like, I don't like scary stuff. My friends would trick and or kidnap me to go see scary movies. That is true. I trusted my friends, and then they did that. I trusted my friends, and I went and saw The Conjuring. But it's fine. First off, the New York Times Book Review needs to redact that statement because it's not scary. And like the only thing that I will concede to it being scary is that it involves kidnapped kids and parents. They red-rummed the parents. And that's scary. That's every parent's worst nightmare is a kidnapped kid. So I'll give you that with the scary point. But that's it. That is it, my friend. It. That is all I will give you for it to be scary. The kidnapped kids, it's every parent's worst nightmare. I will concede to that. But other than that, it really wasn't scary. It took forever, squints, stand on, for shit to happen. It's 557 pages of slow. Ugh. So the first little part of the book takes has something to do with this guy who's traveling and he becomes a night knocker in some small dusty old town somewhere on the East Coast. And then it switches to the kidnapped kids. Luke, he gets kidnapped in the middle of the night because he has some telekinetic ability. And he's also a genius, by the way. But he gets kidnapped because he has some slight telekinetic powers and he's taken to the Institute. Now the Institute has the front half, the back half, and the back of the back half. The front half is where you live well, but you're subjected to do like all these kinds of different tests to deal with your like psychic abilities. And no, it is not like Charles Xavier and the X-Men, all fun and games and superheroes. No. It's very much not that. Kind of like, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that to a bunch of kids, my guy. What can you do? And then after a couple of weeks, they're sent to the back half. No one comes back from the back half. And then the back of the back half is a lot worse. You get to figure out what the back of the back house is really like in the end of the book. It's very heartbreaking to know. But yeah, so spoilers, Luke escapes the Institute and he actually comes across the Night Knocker, which is why that guy was there, and he's trying to tell the adults that I was kidnapped in the middle of the night, I didn't murder my parents, these people did, and I was taken to this institute that is behind this big lush forest in like Vermont, I think, and they were running tests on me, and of course no adults believe kids, but then the institute people actually come to collect Luke, and this whole thing goes down, and they make it back to the institute, and that happens. So, after all that said and done, I thought it was interesting-ish. It was just slow as all hell for me. But I'm just a pretty impatient person. I like getting to the point quickly. This won't do that for you. And it's not scary. It's not going to give you nightmares. There's no like Pennywise coming out and scaring you. There's no psychological like Blair Witch crap happening. No, it's not that kind of scary. No, but I never felt like I was powering through it. I never wanted to DNF it. I found myself wanting to keep reading. I wanted to see what was actually happening. I think it might have to do with like how Stuart really liked this book, so I wanted to see why Stuart liked this book so much. It's actually a pretty decent read. I'm not mad that I read it. I'm not mad at Stuart for making me read this. So it's fine. It is perfectly fine. And that was the last book that I read in the month of June. You can learn a lot of things from the flowers, oh, especially in the month of June. So here is the revised stack of all the books that I read in the month of June, including the one book that I read in the month of May. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So hopefully I can get July's video out sooner rather than later. You know, not like in mid-August. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and hope to see you next time. Bye. I gotta go put these all away now. Wonderful. Oh, yuck. Is that a copyright?